Thanks for checking out this movie review video. So this is for the 2022 film Megalomaniac, and it actually ended up being released in the United States in 2023. So for that reason, it's brand new for me, and it is eligible to be a part of my top films, horror films of 2023. And at the moment, it's within the top 10. I'm not going to give up too much past that, but this is a Belgian film in the French language, so yes, it has subtitles, but I do think this is a very well done film. I think it's very much worth checking out if you're into, international horror, and yeah, it's a good movie. So let's get into talking. Oh, real quick, before I do get into talking about the details of it, I was going to say up front, I saw some people comparing it online to like the French extremity films of like the early 2000s. Two in particular films it was being compared to is like Frontiers, which kind of close to Frontiers as far as like disturbing goes. But also I saw people comparing it to Martyrs. I don't think it's disturbing wise close to Martyrs. Martyrs is like next level disturbing. So I'm talking about this just to let people know, like, if you've seen things about this movie saying it's very disturbing, and disturbing films are not super easy for you, I don't think it was as disturbing as some people are hyping it to be. But that's my opinion. There are some trigger warnings on this film, though. Assault of women, a particular type of assault, SA. People very much triggered by that, so just know that. And just like, there's brutality. It's pretty messed up. And it's all towards women, but it does go to the overall reason for this film, I think, which I will talk about that overall theme, the subtext in it at the very end. But I will give people a little bit of a warning before I talk about that, just because if you don't want to know anything about this movie, other than that, this is a no spoiler review. So, written and directed by Karim. I'm going to do my best on this last name. I think it's Ouelhaj is how I think it is. It's Ouelhaj. I think that's Ouelhaj. But anyway, who did the films Parabola, Frank Shinobi, an experimental musical movie, which sounds interesting to me just based on the title, and a bunch of French-titled films as well. Again, French language film that's from Belgium. Megalomaniac definition. I want to throw this out up front because this is a title that's very purposeful. Megalomaniac definition. A person who is obsessed with their own power. That is very much on display in this film. It is very easy to see that from the get-go, imagery-based and also story-based, but mainly story. So, plays into what's really trying to be said here. So, synopsis. It is about a family of two, a brother and sister, who their father was a notorious serial killer in France, I believe southern France, who was never caught. So it's known, I think they just call him like the Butcher. So he was known, but no one knows that he was a killer except his kids. Like, they knew. So since he has passed, and the movie starts when he has already passed, he's not around anymore. The son starts taking up his mantle, basically. He goes out and wants to complete what his father was doing, in essence, so he takes on the serial killer. And so it's this big thing of like, oh, the Butcher is back. Meanwhile, the sister, who has mental health issues, diagnosed mental health issues, because, the brother probably also has mental health issues, but diagnosed mental health issues. She's more of like a meek, timid person. She's very much subservient to her brother, and she is the main focus of the film. It's about her life and what goes on in her life, and kind of the struggle that's going on between being a part of this family and not being connected to society out of necessity versus her feelings. And yeah, so it's very much kind of like a character piece in that sense. So that's all I want to say about the synopsis. It's very interesting. The score is very interesting to this one. It's very somber, and it incorporates a lot of guttural noises at times. Kind of reminds me a little bit of, if anyone's heard that heavy metal music band, The Who, H-U, or I think it's just Who, that's some Mongolian metal band. Very interesting. They use a lot of like guttural, kind of like chanting noises, and there is some of that that's going on in this. I think the music works extremely well. I love the composition of it. They also do an outstanding job of knowing how hard to go at certain times with the score, and they're very restrained with it for the most part, which really helps the film, especially in those moments where they drop it out altogether, and you're able to just like feel the tension, like feel the disturbing nature of things, just feel the atmosphere, and just feel how you're going to feel without being led too much. And I feel like that is not used as much in film effectively as it can be, but this film does it very well, in my opinion. Again, very good restraint with use of the score, resulting in some scenes that are enhanced by not having the score present. It also has more impact when it's used because of that. That's another thing to point out. If you're not overusing the score, if it's not constant, when it is used, it gives more impact because people aren't just used to that going on. You know, those films that just keep like blaring the score at you, you just get used to it at a certain point, and when it's supposed to be giving impact, it's not doing that anymore. So the movie is very physically dark and has a very drab look to it. Yes, it is subject matter wise very dark as well, and it has a lot of brutality to it. Well, not a lot, but it has an okay amount of brutality to it. But it's very dark in the way it's shot, but you can see everything that you need to. Like, I don't even think there's like any sunlight in this movie, like, at all. So just know it's very dark, it's very drab. That does help with the atmosphere. I also think the shooting location that they got, this kind of like rundown, dilapidated looking house, is very important with the atmosphere that goes on in the film. So good job on that. It is shot very well with some interesting artistic moments that are thrown in. Some very interesting shots that they decided to pull off, and a lot of interesting kind of imagery stuff that goes on. Well, not a lot, but some interesting imagery stuff they end up throwing into the film as well. But it looks really good. Awesome cinematography. It's very well directed as well. There's plenty of gritty, intimate brutality. When I say plenty, an okay amount. There's an okay amount of intimate brutality. Now, when I say intimate, I mean the camera is really there. The camera is really up in it. You see a decent amount of what's going on, and it is pretty uncomfortable. Hence the kind of disturbing nature that people talk about when they're talking about this film. So just know that. It is slow, but engaging still, because you truly don't know where the story's going to end up going, and it feels like it can really snap at any moment. So it is this kind of like on the edge of your seat feeling that you're getting. Like, you know that something big is going to happen at some point, and you just feel like it could be at any moment. And in the meantime, the visuals are outstanding. The characters are very interesting to kind of learn who they are and what they're up to. So, yeah. Which, on the character note, leads me to the performances are very good. I don't think there's one performance in this whole film that I didn't think was quite good to really good, like outstanding. So really good cast from that technical standpoint, extremely well done. There's a lot of interesting imagery and techniques used to show parts of what's going on in the main character's head. Because like I was saying, this is very much about that main character, the sister. And there is some interesting visual stuff that they do to kind of like give you the idea what's going on inside her mind without her actually saying anything, which I appreciate, because show, don't tell. That's the best thing about film. There's one scene that was about to make me barf from the motion of the camera. Yeah, it wasn't like a thing where it's, oh my gosh, it's so brutal and so intense. It's just someone's running, and the cameraman, you could tell, is running with them, and it's not like mounted to like try and smooth it out or anything. It is all over the place, and it goes on way too long. I was getting very nauseous. I almost puked. But that's one time. You know, it only happens one time in the film, so just saying. There are some very questionable character decisions in this that kind of felt lazy writing-wise to me. So this film could have scored even higher for me if those types of things hadn't really been there. But there definitely are some things where you're just like, I don't think this person would be doing this. Why is this person doing this? Especially towards the end of the film. Writing out of convenience, unfortunately. But that happens in plenty of films. But it doesn't kill the film, I will say that, because I'm obviously still recommending it pretty highly. There isn't a single happy moment in this film. I'm just going to put it there. You know, it is disturbing. It is a dark film. Nothing is happy. At no point is there anything to give you reprieve from this dark, terrible world that's created in the film. So if you can't handle that, you might not want to check this out. Or do what I do if, a film makes me feel particularly down or hopeless, like the films of Pascal Laugier, like Martyrs or An Incident in a Ghost Land. Palate cleanser after that. Watch something very light to kind of bring you back up. That's what I do with those. And this, you might need that for. The end is highly metaphorical and deals in societal and familial cycles. You'll see what I mean, or you'll know what I'm talking about if you actually watch the film. It's all about kind of like the family unit and society in general and cycles that it kind of goes through, that it's just kind of stuck. The stuff just keeps going on and on throughout generations. So that said, if you don't want any of the information on like subtext and themes in the film, go ahead and stop right now, because I'm moving on to that. This does an extreme job of showing a woman's existence in a male-dominated society. There are plenty of movies that kind of take the idea of being a woman in a male-dominated society and show it through a horror lens in an effective way. This one does it, but it does it in such like an over-the-top extreme way. But because of the subject matter and the story they're trying to tell, strictly from a story standpoint, it works. Some people will just find it way too heavy-handed, though, but I appreciated it for what it is. Just saying. And then the final thing I wanted to say is it's also one of those films that blurs the line between good and evil. I don't want to go too far down the road of talking about that, but yeah, it is there, and there are plenty of movies that kind of do that, where they're just like, oh, this person's terrible, but they're also, I kind of understand where they're coming from. I kind of feel for them. Saw movies is a great one. Like, a lot of people look at John Kramer, Jigsaw from the Saw films, and they're kind of like, I mean, he's a terrible person, he's killing people, but I also like understand his pain. I understand where he comes from, stuff like that. So anyway, but yeah, Megalomaniac, quite good. Out of 5 stars, half stars in play, I'm giving it a very good 4-star rating. Like I said, it's currently in within my top 10 horror movies of 2023. And again, it came out in 2022 internationally, but in the United States, it just came out in 2023. So it applies for me. But anyway, would love to hear other people's opinions on this film. If you've seen it, go ahead and put it in the comments, and you can do spoilers in the comments. That's totally fine. Do me a favor, thumbs up on this video if you liked it. Hit subscribe to my channel if you like any video I've ever done, including this one. That is your best way to repay me for free content. And also you can hit the notification bell button, because then you'll know when I'm putting up new videos, which I'm doing at least 3 regular sized ones a week, and usually 2, maybe more, short videos, like 60 seconds or less. I was going to say 60 minutes or less. That's everywhere. I've never gone that long. But anyway, thank you everyone for checking this out. And until next time, keep it brutal.